Hello, I am Laura Bonanno, and I am representing the AANA Foundation Abstract Task Force. I will be reviewing the submission and review process for research abstracts. The AANA Foundation Task Force is charged with monitoring the abstract process and adapting it to make improvements. The task force evaluates the current poster abstract process and identifies gaps in the application process, the criteria for each category of abstract, and the guidance provided to abstract reviewers. The task force implements suggested changes to the abstract process and creates educational videos for applicants and reviewers. Updates to the poster abstract submission process starting in 2026 include the following. The word count has been revised to be 325 total words, which is significantly shorter. There's an improved structure using the following headings: purpose and question, methods, results, and implications and conclusion. The reference style was changed from APA to AMA. And oral or podium research abstracts that include findings and are presented at annual Congress can now be published in the AANA Journal. There are three major categories of abstracts. The first is research, which includes both qualitative and quantitative. The second is non-research, which is evidence-based practice and quality improvement. And the third category is also non-research, which is case study and innovation. In this presentation, I will be reviewing abstract submission and review process for the research category. Research uses the scientific process to generate new knowledge and evidence about a subject using methodology, including measurements of variables, collection and statistical analysis of data, and conclusions based on the results of the study. Prior to submission of the abstract, you will be asked qualifying questions for the research category. The first is, did you use a methodology to answer a research question? If you answer yes, you will continue. If you answer no, you would choose a different category. The second question is, does your study involve data collection and analysis? If you answer yes, you would continue. If you answer no, you would choose a different category. And the third question is, do you use a methodology to answer a research question or test a research hypothesis? If you answer yes, you would continue, and if you answer no, you would choose a different category. Here is the format for research abstracts. The first is the purpose and question section. Here you will describe the purpose and the research question clearly and concisely. The second section is the method section. Here you will describe the research design, sample, setting, outcomes, and provide a high-level overview of the analysis approach. The third section is the results section, and here you will describe the key findings of analyses in a factual manner with specific data points, including demographics, noting any themes that emerge from analysis. Include information on reliability, validity, and statistical testing as appropriate. And the final section is implications and conclusions. Here you will describe the significance and implications for practice, noting any limitations and future research needs. Ensure that the conclusions are supported by the results and minimize any overgeneralization. Please also note the word count limit for overall is 325 words total, and for each section there is a word limit. Purpose and question, you have 45 words, and the method section 100 words, results 110, and the implications and conclusions, the word count limit is 70. Now we will review the rubric that reviewers will use to score each abstract. If you look at the rubric moving left to right, you will see that the rubric is divided into sections. Each section has a column that indicates the allotted character or word count, and the next column explains the criteria. In the last three columns, the reviewer would indicate yes, which would score 1 point if the criteria was met, or no, which would score 0 points if the criteria was not met. If the criteria was not met and the reviewer gives the score of 0, then the reviewer is required to include a comment. The first section is the overall evaluation of the abstract. and the reviewer will be asked the question, is the abstract worthy of acceptance? If the answer is no, and there was a critical flaw or weakness that precludes the abstract from being accepted, then the reviewer would be asked to provide an explanation. The reviewer will still score the remainder of the abstract. And please remember that a literature review only will not be accepted. The next section of the research scoring rubric is the purpose and question section, which has a word limit of 45 or 290 characters, including spaces. The criteria for this section is: does the title reflect the research project? Is the significance of the problem and/or phenomena as evidenced in the literature review clearly described? Is the need for the study clearly demonstrated? And is the research question clearly stated and aligned with the title and background for quantitative research? Or is the theoretical framework appropriate to inform the study for qualitative research? Again, each criteria would be scored. If the score is yes, then it's 1 point. If no, it's 0 points, and the reviewer will be asked to provide a comment. The next section is the method section, and here the word limit is 100 words or 600 characters, including spaces. The criteria for this section includes: is protection of live or animal subjects addressed adequately, and is a statement regarding IRB approval or exemption included? Please note, this is provided separately in the submission outside of the abstract, but the reviewer will be asked to score it here. Is the research design appropriate and logically consistent for the research questions posed? This is for both qualitative and quantitative research. Are the sample setting and data collection clearly described and consistent with the methodological approach, including instruments and specific methods? Again, both quantitative and qualitative research. And then the final criteria is the data analysis clearly described and consistent with the research design and the methodological approach? Again, the researcher would score each of these criteria listed. Next section is the results section. The word count limit here is 110 or 700 characters. And here are the criteria. Are the results reported in a clear, concise, and accurate manner? Are the results aligned with the research design, purpose, and goals? Does the statistical for quantitative research or thematic for qualitative research analysis support the results, and is the interpretation of the results sound? And finally, are reliability and validity addressed for quantitative research, or is trustworthiness addressed for qualitative research? The next section is the implications and conclusion section. The word count limit here is 70 or 400 characters. And here are the criteria. Are the discussion and conclusions supported by the results? Are implications and recommendations for practice discussed? Are study limitations discussed adequately? And are suggestions for future research included? The final section of the scoring rubric relates to the writing style and format. And the criteria here are as follows. Are the guidelines followed for the abstract submission? Is AMA format correct? Is correct grammar, punctuation, and sentence structure used? And is the abstract logical and well organized? Here are some tips for submission of an abstract for the research category. First, you must have a clearly stated research question. You need to make sure that you describe how you analyze the data, and if needed, you can consult with an experienced faculty member or a statistician. The results section should contain only results, not analysis, plan, or discussion. And make sure that you answer your main research questions and include statistical results for quantitative or thematic analysis for qualitative. In the discussion section, put your results in the context of what other studies have found. And if these are new findings, state that. Be careful not to overstate your findings. Ensure that the conclusion is supported by your findings. And finally, make sure that you include implications and recommendations for clinical practice. Here are some tips and tricks for our reviewers. Make sure that you give each abstract a very thorough review. Provide comments to justify any no responses that gave the score of 0 for that criteria. And overall, consider the following. Is the question clearly stated, and is it important? Is the method appropriate and well described? Are the results presented clearly, and are they supported by the data? Are the conclusions supported by the data and appropriately limited? Is the abstract written clearly and concisely? And finally, is the topic of the abstract a good fit for the meeting? On behalf of the AANA Foundation, I wish to extend our sincere appreciation for your time, expertise, and commitment to ensuring excellence in scholarship.